If I had to briefly summarize what the main lesson of today's agenda item concerning Ukraine is, then I would have to say the following, that now even their own European rules no longer matter. Brussels is ready to violate every single existing rule just so they can drag the entire European continent into a devastating war. The mindset that now prevails here in Brussels can only be adequately described as war fanaticism. It has practically been decided in Brussels and in several European capitals that the functioning of the Ukrainian state will very much the rearmament of the Ukrainian army and their ongoing war will all be paid for by the European people. We've now arrived at a situation where the construction of weapons manufacturing facilities in Ukraine is also being actively discussed and considered. Here, they are subtly referring to this as an investment in the Ukrainian defense industry, which they claim is the best investment for Europe's security. However, it is quite obvious that this is a completely nonsensical assessment. The people in Brussels also want us to relocate the European Union's military training mission to Ukraine. This is an absolute red line. Hungary will not allow this. We will not consent to it in any way. This would be an escalation risk that is impossible to undertake, an escalation risk that would put Hungary and the Hungarian people in grave danger. Therefore, Hungary has naturally not contributed and will not contribute in the future to the European Union carrying out a military training mission on Ukrainian territory. There is very serious intent and pressure for this, but we resisted it again today. They would spend 46,000 billion forints to arm a country neighboring Hungary, not part of the same integration as Hungary and not a NATO member, and they want to send 80,000 billion forints to a country where corruption is organized at a state level, a country where a war-driven mafia is operating, and into a nation where we have absolutely no idea what they have spent the European taxpayers' money that has been sent over there up until now. The argument by which the European Union bypasses the unanimity requirement on this particular issue practically renders all future statements by the European Union concerning the rule of law or democracy completely ridiculous and utterly untrustworthy. The European Union is violating its own rules to such an extent that it's not just a horse's leg that's sticking out, but practically the entire stable. The European Union is claiming that Russian assets must be frozen for a long time because the Russians are creating an energy emergency in Europe. This is an absolutely enormous lie. To consider people to be this foolish even in Brussels is utterly unacceptable, I believe. The energy supply crisis is not being caused by the Russians within the European Union, but rather by the fact that Brussels is right now banning Russian energy sources from Europe. And then citing this, it creates the legal basis, a non-existent legal basis for itself in order to circumvent the unanimity criterion. So this argument from this point forward renders incredible and absurd every statement from the European Union that concerns the functioning of any member state's democratic institutional system, and renders incredible and absurd every European Union statement regarding the so-called rule of law procedures concerning Hungary. It has been stated, and naturally there was immense pressure on us today concerning Ukraine's EU membership as well. I want to make it absolutely clear that we, Hungarians, do not consider European Union membership a security guarantee given to the Ukrainians, but rather we view it as a war threat for all of Europe. The admission of Ukraine into the European Union would represent an enormous threat of war for the entire European Union. We are absolutely unwilling to assist in bringing this war directly into the European Union. This is a kind of war madness through which they want to drag every single European country into conflict. There is only one way for Hungary to remain uninvolved in all of this, and that is by maintaining its sovereign national government. Brussels' biggest problem right now is that it cannot drag Europe into the war, nor can it bring Ukraine into the European Union. And they cannot do that because we are currently preventing it, the sovereign national Hungarian government.
Now then, regarding the possible Russian retaliatory measures, I would like to make the following absolutely clear. Hungary does not support the Brussels officials taking the frozen Russian state assets. We do not support it.
We oppose it for many reasons.
We put a very clear question to the Russians regarding whether the Russian frozen assets, if the European Union makes a decision to seize it, will the Russian retaliatory measures be uniform against all European Union member states, or will Russia's countermeasures take into consideration the specific member country's stance on this particular issue? And
the response from the Russians was absolutely clear. Concerning Australia, I can tell you the following. First and foremost, the news truly shocked everyone. I, the Hungarian people, consider this utterly unacceptable.
Violent acts perpetrated against religious communities. We firmly oppose all forms of terrorism and violence. And Hungary maintains a policy of zero tolerance against anti-Semitism. We have already conveyed our deepest condolences, this was formally done in a letter sent out today. Of course, we extend our heartfelt sympathies to the families of all the victims. We sincerely wish swift and full recovery to all those who were injured, and we offer the families our unwavering support and much strength during this incredibly difficult period ahead.